Hello and welcome, Rangers, to the Ranger Podcast. Today's episode is the conclusion to the three-parter, wherein we suggest ideas for how three particular Power Ranger seasons could have played out, namely Zeo, Turbo, and Space. If they had kind of planned it better, and if they had stuck with Billy as Gold Ranger and then brought Aisha back for Turbo, and now we'll be discussing where I think Jason should have been placed instead of in Zeo. I think it should have been in Space. Jason being in Space tied him in with a certain arc regarding Divatox. Because she was still kind of running around throughout the season, although they put her on the back burner, they could have had her versus Jason, which, given the Turbo movie, wherein he was possessed by her, it would have been really epic to have him settle the score. And I would have liked to see TJ try to reason with him when the fight comes up, because where they try to tell him, you can't kill her in revenge, she tries to deal one blow when his back is turned. He whips around like Kyle Katarn style and just cuts her down for the right reasons. Kind of like how Kyle Katarn did it in Dark Forces 2 with Jarek. If they had tied in the idea of maybe instead of Andros killing Zordon, Divatox, there would have been more tie-in to Mighty Morphin and Jason. It would have given Jason an overall arc from season 1 all the way to here. Because when he was written out, could be written in that, there was a certain amount of anger, like there was in a few episodes of season 1. Jason felt a lot of turmoil and had a protective streak regarding Tommy because of the Green Ranger powers and Jason's failures in that regard. Now, Jason seems to have felt very guilty and held his failure with the Green Candle against himself, because I think that the knowledge that he nearly ended up saying, you know what, screw it, I could grab the candle, and you have Zach, we might be able to save the powers, but it'll cost Tommy his life. Are you really willing to do that? And for a moment, Jason hesitates. That moment of hesitation seems to be something that Jason held against himself. And Tommy and Zach and Kim, all three tried to reassure him throughout Mighty Morphin, I noticed. The rest of Jason's episodes were all centered around that. If you look at that sense of turmoil and self-loathing that Jason felt, then you tie it in with the violation of Divatox having him possessed, it would damage the man in a way. And you could have that lead into Divatox finally killing Zordon, and this would just culminate in Jason developing a certain hatred for her. And he finally lets go at the last minute of all his feelings of hatred, anger, and turmoil, making peace with himself and overcoming the suffering of the past and all these Power Ranger possessions that haunted him and Tommy in the earlier seasons.
This would give Jason a much bigger role in the overall arc of the Power Rangers. The problem with bringing him into Zeo is that
it came out of nowhere. It didn't seem to have a purpose. There was no point to bringing Jason back, except for nostalgia and whatnot, but there was no real storyline written out with him. The story still seemed bonkers throughout Zeo. They didn't even know what they were doing. They didn't even know the solution to the mystery of the Gold Ranger till they just whipped out Jason. Whereas, if they had held off on using Jason until in Space, here's the thing. He'd have a protective streak of TJ because TJ is Tommy's pupil. And Jason would feel an obligation towards TJ out of respect for Tommy. The problem is within Space is the writing was bonkers again, and it needed a unifying factor, like one character to bring everything together. Now, I really like TJ, and I found him the most charismatic character on set, an actor on set, but they were purposely putting him on the back burner. And it was just annoying that he was chucked aside as a character. He's basically written out of this series as the Blue Space Ranger and doesn't pop back up until Psycho Ranger arc. So, at least with Jason around either as the Silver or Red Ranger, if you kill off Andros at some point to maybe Astronema to solidify her as a villainess, you could have had Jason with, once again, the Red Ranger or the Silver Ranger, which would be a nice nod to Tommy. Because, Tommy was White Ranger. Imagine Jason donning that color. That'd be neat. That said, if he was red again, well, it's a nod to his having been the Red Mighty Morphin Ranger. Having him be the one to take down Divatox and maybe have TJ take out Astronema would be really neat. It would bring it all together and wrap it in a nice, neat little bow. You'd have Jason having an overall arc.
He'd be known for being Jason.
Yeah, and by making him the central character, and here's the thing, I think he would probably be the most charismatic character in that season, and giving him the center role, but it would also give him an entire season to develop into his own character. And he doesn't have to compete with characters like Kim, Billy, or Tommy. But by extending Jason's arc in space, where he's the one who avenges Zordon, this gives, and even maybe Andros if you kill off Andros, this makes Jason arguably one of the most important Rangers. And if it's Jason who holds Zordon as he lies dying, that would be really cool and touching. It would harken back to the first episode. You could have Zordon's last words basically be about, "Find peace, my son," or something like that. And where Jason struggles with that, and he wants to be the man Zordon knows he can be. I'd also want them not to do that stupid wave of good blast that purifies everything, which was stupid. Now, I know some people may not like our views here on In Space, but I think that Jason deserved an entire season there, back in the day, in the 90s. Now, if you disagree, feel free to tell us in the comments. We honestly don't mind if you disagree. In fact, please do and tell us what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and share the video. And remember, Rangers,
may the power protect you.